Good evening, friends. It's been a while since we talked. Some actions going on here. So checking in on Bitcoin on the daily time frame to start it off. And we really had a dump that was fairly limited to GDAX and to Coinbase. And we saw the bulls buy the dip, but it was a bit of a fake out because we saw an all-out crash, a little mini flash crash down to 2,500, and then a significant bounce and recovery from there. So a couple of things that could have been. That could have been, stop losses being triggered to try and flush people out and loading up. But more likely than not, I do believe that it was people leaving Bitcoin, or I should say leaving Coinbase, because Coinbase is not going to be supporting BCC, at least to start. So people wanting to have access to that, trying to cash out, perhaps move to other exchanges. We can speculate all we want. But either way, it was a quick flush to the downside that was quickly bought. And now we're looking back at the all-time high. We came within about 6% of that all-time high today, and even less than that when we hit up to 2,900. We came $100 shy. So the bull's getting very, very close here, and we're seeing healthy consolidation. And we've got this fork countdown now like 9 hours away at this point. So there's, a record number of shorts on Bitcoin. So it's getting very, very interesting is the bottom line. And the bulls are in control right now. So zooming in at the 4-hour time frame, you can see the all-out dump, the big high-volume dump, and then the bulls really just bought it, and it was slow and steady on the recovery. We'll look on the hourly time frame, but once we started breaking the lower highs they could not break before the dump, that's when we knew that the bulls had some momentum. So here we are forming a bearish reversal inverted hammer after a climax up at the top. Now we're consolidating. The bulls are buying the dip with a nice lower wick. Look at the bullish crosses on this 4-hour time frame on the MACD. It is such a good indicator. We had a bull cross back when the price was here in the 2,600 range, and we saw a move up to 2,800, so a $200 move. Then we had a bullish MACD cross just here right before the breakout, and that was essentially a $150, $200 move as well. So these 4-hour bullish MACD crosses let us know when some longer-term bullish momentum is picking up. The hourly time frame, you can see that dump, and it would just look at the volume on the recovery. It was not just a rocket ship back to the upside. It was very slow and drawn out. It didn't even look like the bulls had much momentum behind this recovery, and it was just another lower high until we broke these two levels of 27.54 and 27.60. So those were the two levels that I was watching for the bulls to break the lower high pattern, and they did break it on increasing bullish volume, and I missed that initial entry. You could have made a bullish entry on a break of those resistances. I was doing stock stuff in the morning, missed that entry, but I did get this consolidation, and my consolidation level, because after that 3-hour breakout, you couldn't really pick out any clear supports, so I looked back and said, okay, where was previous resistance? Because by default, by definition, previous resistance, once you break it, it becomes support. So I was looking at 27.60 and 27.54 to act as support on the way down. So I set my bids in the 27.50 and 60 range. They ended up filling, and then I got this move to the upside, exited in the 28.70s and 28.80 right around there. So captured about a $90 move to the upside and just entered now back on consolidation. I was away from the computer, but I knew I wanted to get back in on this healthy consolidation in case we did get a move to those all-time highs. So I set a bunch of bids spread out and averaged in the 28.30s. So now just patiently watching this hourly time frame. This is very healthy consolidation, and I can say that due to the lack of bear volume. It's very low compared to the bull volume, so we're pulling back. Bulls are looking to confirm this bullish reversal candlestick on the hourly time frame. However, we're not really seeing much of that at this point. The 15-minute time frame shows us the bulls attempting to form a higher low, and now we have to see a higher high, and the bulls have to break 28.57 to see a little higher low, higher high, and see the momentum head back to the upside, see a bullish MACD cross. So I am looking at this 15-minute time frame. Ideally, the bulls want to hold the low of this consolidation at this point of 28.16. And if that were to break, that would be a little bit of a short-term red flag. 2,800 psychological support would come after that. And we can see 2,800 psychological support, previously resistance, a lot of resistance at that level, so we should see a decent amount of support at that level. So again, the two resistances are 28.57 and 28.68 before looking back up to 2,900. So bulls still in control until we see increasing bear volume or a breakdown of some key supports, but this is ideal hourly consolidation at this point where there's no red flags and it's a potential little bull flag pattern. That last candlestick, that red one, would ruin how you would draw a bull flag pattern, but in terms of the psychology of the consolidation, normal and healthy at this point. So I'm going to let it ride for a bit and don't have to worry about anything until tomorrow morning in terms of the actual fork going down. And we'll see if the bulls can head back up towards the all-time high in that time frame. 9 hours is plenty of time, and we'll either see an equilibrium pattern with a lower high, higher low, or we're going to see a breakout or a breakdown. So going to let it ride and see how it goes from here. Ethereum on the daily time frame getting pretty tight. We have a bunch of clear resistance, 209.89, 209.77, 209.90, 209.98. So 4 days in the past 7 days where we have topped out. Let's just round it and call it 210. That's a very clear resistance level at this point that the bulls have to get over to see any kind of follow through. So looking at that on the 4-hour time frame, we can see all these tops at those levels, and the low is a base of support down here at 190.78. So the bulls have to form a higher low compared to 190.78 if we do consolidate after this rejection yet again. And then we'll be looking to see this tightening range with higher lows and a clear horizontal resistance line. That's an ascending triangle pattern. We could draw a support line at those higher lows. Get rid of this downtrend line as that's been broken. So that would be the pattern that we can be watching. An ascending triangle, and we'll see a break of that sometime by tomorrow morning as Ethereum bulls look to see some upside. And really, Bitcoin's obviously stealing the show. And if you look at the search engine results on Google, we're seeing a spike in Bitcoin today as well. So definitely a lot of hype around it. Looking at the hourly time frame, we can see that resistance, the trend lines are a little bit off because they were drawn in the different time frame. But the resistance is very clear. And we've seen this in the past with Ethereum, where we have a very clear resistance level and then we see a bullish break and really nice quick gains to the upside. So keep an eye on 210, because if 210 breaks, I'm going to be looking up at 218.71 and then really up to 225. So there's a nice upside if we can get over this 210 level. Definitely a resistance level to be watching on for that break. Litecoin on the daily time frame, bulls trying to build a base of support at this $38 level. We're bouncing just above it. We have not closed below it. And in terms of resistance, there's a lot of resistance up at 48. So a range between 38 and 48. Bulls are trying to see some follow through and a bullish MACD cross. The last bullish MACD cross on the daily time frame didn't see much follow through at all. So looking at the 4-hour time frame, we can see a higher low and a higher high has now formed as the bulls are changing this trend. And we really saw a huge move to the upside today on the hourly time frame. And it looked very news related. And I looked at it and I saw the volume and the huge move to the upside. And then I saw that the founder is going to be on CNBC. And then I realized that news alert, through the help of members in the chat room, that came out long before. That came out early in the morning. So it was very surprising because that's big news. If you're going to be on the, if you're going to be talking on CNBC, you're going to expose hundreds of thousands of people, and tens of thousands of those people have never heard of Litecoin. So that's pretty big exposure. And you see, if the CEO of a company is going to be on CNBC, you'll see the stock run up leading into it. It is usually a sell the news event, so we have to be aware of that with Litecoin as well. I believe that's tomorrow at about 5 p.m. Eastern. So we'll keep an eye out for that on CNBC. But as of right now, we're seeing a tightening range where we have our high of the breakout, the low of consolidation, the lower high. We're looking at the bulls to form a higher low. Right now, that higher low is at 42.05. And resistance is up at 43.42 and 43.80. So a tightening range on the hourly time frame to be watching. Things are cooling off. And we're seeing the RSI drop down. So watching, let's see if it looks any different on the 15-minute time frame. We can see the bulls need to keep support where $42 is a very key level of support in the short term after how many times we have held that, testing it over the past few hours. And the bulls have to break the lower high pattern to see continuation. But again, anticipating that it is likely a sell the news event unless, some news is dropped on CNBC that is not expected, but I don't expect that to be the case. Just going to make people aware of Litecoin, and the people that are going to buy Litecoin in response to watching that CNBC segment are going to be buying it from people that bought it all the way here on the way up in the upper 30s and lower 40s. So that's what the definition of news being priced in means, where people get in anticipation of the news, and then the people that buy on the news are buying the people's shares that already got in, and the supply outweighs the demand, and we don't really see much follow through. So that's what we've got as we head into tomorrow. It's going to be a very interesting rest of the week, and we do have SegWit coming up for Bitcoin as well. So at this point, I am bullish Bitcoin. We're still within striking distance of that all-time high. And let's see, right now we're $160 away. 160 divided by 2,840 percentage-wise, that is 5.6% away. So very close within striking distance. And when we were only $100 away, it was even a more slim margin. So I am bullish Bitcoin. That's what I'm playing. Ethereum, that's a clear break at 210. If that occurs, should see an easy $5 to $10 move to the upside from there. Ideally, the bulls would want to see that break without high RSI on the hourly or 4-hour time frame. So we'll look to see a continued bouncing around in this channel until it breaks. That's definitely a trade to be keeping an eye on. And for Litecoin, we can watch for a break of this tightening pattern. But after such a strong move for Litecoin already occurring today, I would be watching Bitcoin and Ethereum a bit closer, but to each his own. So we'll check back in and watch how it all plays out over the next 12 hours. It's going to be very interesting. And we'll see if Bitcoin bulls can get that new all-time high. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.